John Fourcade Show, presented each week by the Ray Brandt Automotive family. Another one of the John Fourcade specials. All remaining 2014 Camrys, $5,000 off MSRP. Again, all remaining 2014 Camrys, $5,000 off MSRP right here at Ray Brandt Toyota. Back here on the John Fourcade Show. Mike to tell you along with John Fourcade. John, one of the areas that, and we see each and every year, everybody wants that big time pass rusher coming off the edge, and you're finding more, say, at the outside linebacker position than, say, at defensive end today. It's a hybrid position. We've seen it with the Von Millers and all Don Smiths of the world, those guys kind of playing that dual role. This year, two guys stick out kind of head and shoulders above everybody else. Anthony Barr, we'll have my list of the top 2014 outside linebackers. Anthony Barr and Khalil Mack from Buffalo. Those two guys are neck and neck right now to be the top linebacker position. Barr's got a slight edge, but I'm telling you, keep an eye on Khalil Mack. Ryan Shazar from Ohio State, a guy that's not a real big kid, but man, a lot of range. Kyle Van Noy from Brigham Young. I'll be honest with you, last year Ezekiel Anseh, everybody made a big thing about him. The best defensive player they had was Van Noy, and then a couple of hybrid players, kind of outside linebacker, defensive ends, Trent Murphy from Stanford and Trevor Riley from Utah. But Anthony Barr and Khalil Mack, two guys kind of built the same. They both can get up the field and rush the quarterback. Also great range that they can cover coming out the backfield.
Well, Mike, not just the fact that these guys can drop, cover, rush the quarterback. They're mobile enough that they're not injury prone too. And folks out there listening to this, Mike Detillier's got a book out there. If you don't listen to what we say here, go look at his book. He'll give you every listing on every player in that magazine that you want to look at. And Mike, not just the fact that this guy, Barr could be the #1 pick in this draft.
I would be surprised, but we're going to go to the video with it. He's a guy that has put up some big edge pressure for Jim Mora Jr. At UCLA, played in the conference. And, you know, you brought up the fact, hey, look at that list. No outside linebackers from the Southeast Conference. When you think about it, Barr from the West Coast, Van Noy, a West Coast guy, Murphy, Riley, all from that West Coast deal. None, we'll get a look at some of the SEC guys a little bit later on, but Barr, I think, has got an opportunity to be a top 5 or 6 pick. I think the quarterback's come on. Yeah, the quarterback's always going to trump that kind of guy because Jadeveon Clowney's certainly going to be in that mix. But Khalil Mack from Buffalo is a guy, if you have not watched him play, man, he's a guy that can really, really put pressure on the quarterback. Big physical kid who really developed late in his high school career, and then all of a sudden he has blossomed as a big-time guy from Buffalo, and a lot of people kind of believe he may kind of start the career where it started in college with the Buffalo Bills, who could use, man, they got a pretty good defense. A guy like Mack would really, really make that special.
You know, Mike, the thing about it is, too, what people got to understand with these athletes nowadays, it's not all about where you play football. You have to be at the Ohio States, the Michigans, the LSUs, the Alabama. You can go to Buffalo. You'll go anywhere you want to go play football nowadays, and they're going to find you. This young man could be one of the top 10 picks in the NFL draft this year, and he's from Buffalo. People say, Buffalo? I mean, yes, Buffalo. You got to play someplace. And I tell people all the time, you go to school, the NFL is going to find you. I mean, it's proven fact that other players have played other places that aren't big-name schools, and they're contributing. And these linebackers nowadays with the 3-4 scheme, people are playing more 3-4s now because they want that Matthews coming off the edge. They want them big, fast guys. They don't want them light guys on the edge. They want a guy who's quick enough who can also drop. That's what they try to do with Will Smith, and it's not going to work. The guys that are 280, 290. Yes, if you're 260, 250, maybe 270, who can move, man, you're an asset being able to drop and rush. You don't see that a lot.
You know, one of the things, and you brought up small college school last year, we talked so much about Robert Alford coming out of Southeastern Louisiana. They have a young man who's also at the combine, be a later round pick, Todd Washington. Went to high school at Letcher High School, goes to Southeastern. And then all of a sudden, Ron Roberts, who's done a great job at Southeastern, he gets 4 transfers from LSU to go there. And man, LSU, I know they're known for defensive line U, but they're also defensive back U kind of part 2. So it goes to show you that small college, so to speak. Ladarius Webb coming out of Nicholls State. He started at Southern Miss. Has had a great career with the Ravens. Now we're going to go to the inside linebackers. And the top guy on the list, he's a young man we've seen way too much of, C.J. Mosley from University of Alabama. Christian Jones, I covered his dad and his older brother, so I'm getting up in age doing this scouting stuff. Shane Skov from Stanford, who had a knee injury last year, has come back and really hit it hard as a senior. And Chris Borland from Wisconsin, maybe a lot of people haven't seen him play. I thought he was one of the standouts at the Senior Bowl in the practices, undersized, kind of Zach Thomas-like. One thing for sure, I think C.J. Mosley heads this list year. He could play outside linebacker, inside linebacker. He's a guy that has been a big-time performer for the Tide.
You know as well as I do, Alabama has always put out some good, solid linebacking guys. Inside, outside, who can rush the quarterback, who can hit and make tackles, who can defend the run, defend the passing. But this young man's going to have a great career in the league. I also look at some of these other players. I like the guy from Stanford. I think
Shane
the guy
Skov
from Stanford is a bona fide middle linebacker in a 3-4.
Yeah, I think he plays that position. Real physical kid. Came back from a major knee injury, and I thought he played extremely well. We got some video here of Shane Skov, and man, he wears double
Great
one.
Number, too. Great number, number
man,
11. Somebody at the Saints used to wear that number 11.
But you can see his instincts as a football player, quick, and this year, him tracking down a running back. And that was the one thing, question mark, how quickly could he come back from that knee injury? John, I thought he played extremely well in what I call in space. He was able to get out there, and that was something that when you come off that type of injury, you kind of worry about. Big physical kid also too, and talking to the coaches at Stanford, just how smart he is. Quick instincts, one step, get up the field, make the play.
Mike, you know where he's coming from, an NFL-style offense and defense over there at Stanford. So he sees that at practice every day. He's just going to fit right in the NFL because he's played defenses over there at Stanford that has been a defense that's can fit right in the NFL because he practices every day against offenses that you'll probably see a lot in the NFL. Now, some of this other stuff you see in the NFL, the Redskins and the Denver Broncos, that's every now and then. But yes, I think he's molded well enough to go into the NFL right now and play some football early.
One of the things, too, is also Christian Jones, who plays at Florida State. He's the one guy that has played the Mike, the Will, and the Sam. And when I look at the Saints, he would be a guy that if you were looking to upgrade your linebacker position, he would fit what Rob Ryan wants to do because he's played all three positions. He's been a kind of a legacy guy. His dad Willie was a tremendous football player for Florida State. His older brother also, he was a guy came out, parade All-American, all kind of hype. Maybe disappointed them a little bit early, but boy, he's played well the last couple of seasons. 6'3", 235 pounds, and he can move.
Well, if he's available and the Saints looking for a linebacker spot, they should grab this young man. One fact that he's played on a championship team, he's got the caliber football that you always see at Florida State. His family, the heritage
that
there,
gene pool.
Odell Beckham Jr. So that gene pool right there goes to. I think he's going to be an excellent cover guy as well as a blitzing guy because he's got the ability to play three linebacker spots. You don't find that a lot nowadays with linebackers. Either upstanding rushing linebacker or a middle linebacker, not one who can run, rush, cover, do everything. I think this guy can do it.
Lamine Barrow from LSU is not on the list. I think he's a guy that probably goes late in the third, early fourth round. A little undersized, but noted for quick instincts, can get to the football, and he plays well in space. What I think he needs to do is physically get stronger to take on and shut off people at the point of attack.
Well, he's the kind of kid that you thought you take later in the rounds, middle or late rounds. When you take that guy, that's the guy you develop, and there's always hiding players like somebody in Seattle does.
Yeah, with a guy named Farrell Simon. You'd have put that guy on the developmental list. I mean, he just stayed there about 2 seconds before somebody snagged him up. That's why he was on physically unable to perform. We'll be back with more, and we'll be talking about a couple of recruits that LSU and Tulane got right back here on the John Fourcade Show, presented each week by the Ray Brandt Automotive family.